Kentucky have 5 districts that have had 0 women in administration. 0 women in administration. That means not assistant principals, certainly not superintendents. So as far as we have come in Hardin County, we have to keep this momentum going for the entire state of Kentucky and actually our nation. You will notice from the slide up here to my left, this is how the girls that are coming in today expressed interest. I think it's important for you to notice some of these are really popular, probably because of what they're seeing in social media, but also because of their ages. So our hopes and dreams today are that they meet with you and they go, I hadn't even thought about that. That is something I never even thought I could do with my talents, my time, and my education. So you are really lighting that fire for these students and expanding their horizons. So we greatly appreciate that. We will have lunch today at 11:30. And that is a time that we really hope that you will meet and greet. I really appreciate the folks who came up and said, hey, tell me about your flowers down here with Soul Farms. So it'll be a great time for you to connect with people because there's a lot of people in here who could benefit you in your professional life. So I hope you will take the opportunity to do that. In Hardin County Schools, we have 38 pathways currently. 2 of the ones that we just started, one is criminal justice. Where's Nikki? Down here, criminal justice pathway. That came about because we had so many students interested in that. But with our close partnership with Ectc, that is really how that came about. So our other one was our residential maintenance program. Our residential maintenance program, yes, is heavily male involved, but there are some females. And Mr. Hall will tell you that the females are meticulous and great at doing that. So hopefully in the future we'll have some contractors that show up one time and get the job done completely and maybe even decorate with some flowers before they leave. So it is just an honor to be here. I want to introduce some folks today whose endless work and dedication has made this possible. We have Holly Sexton over here, our honorary doctorate. And Megan Stiff have a company called Boss Lady Incorporated, and they are just phenomenal to have at the head of that. They are chief executive officers of Boss Lady Incorporated. We also have Becky Ates here with Bound Credit Union. I have to talk to you about her dedication. She is less than 2 weeks away from retirement, and yet she has been completely dedicated to making this a reality. Bound Credit Union is paying for our location today. We are busing in our young ladies today. So thank you, Becky. She's still going to be working after retirement, right after a trip to Hawaii and right after another trip someplace else. But we greatly appreciate the 3 of them. Also, we have Brandy New, and Brandy New is our Director of Innovation. And she is all things STEM. But years ago, she also started a class at our Early College and Career Center, starting Girls That Code. And during that time, it was amazing to see, when put in the right situations with the right people, how those girls will continue to grow and mature and realize what they're capable of doing. So we greatly appreciate Brandy. She has organized all of this. She did the Google form to set this up. So I want to go back up to the sheet that you're seeing here. This is from our 700 and some girls from our 5 middle schools. And they responded to this. So you are seeing their goals and aspirations. Brandy organized that for us. You can see that fashion is up there at the top, culinary. So again, I reference what's cool in society. You're going to change some of their minds today, open some of their minds today with what you're doing here. So again, thank you. I do want to go over some things that need to go over. Our restrooms. If you go out this door to your left and turn left, there are 2 restrooms down that direction. If you go out this door and go to your right, you will see restrooms there as well. The other thing, our girls are going to show up this morning. I'm going to ask, because we have different schools coming, wait until we let you know that all of your girls are here before you start, because they may not all come in at the same time, but they will be seated, and then we'll ask you to begin, and then we'll give you a countdown of like 1 or 2 minutes. Some things you need to know about 7th grade girls. A lot of people here today reached out and asked for special prayers because they were going to be with 700 middle school girls throughout the day. So they may ask you questions that really you don't need to answer. And they will ask you questions maybe about sexuality and things like that. And we would prefer that you say, you know what, that's a great question. Let me take your name and school, and let me give that to someone who can get into a deeper conversation, because we don't have the time for that in 20 minutes. They may ask you, how much money do you make? A great response to that, if you're comfortable with it, is a salary range for someone in my position is. And give them that. You do not need to disclose what you make. The other thing you may want to include in that salary range is how long you have worked to get there. Unfortunately, with today's youth, they think they're going to start at that $1.2 million a year within the first 3 months of their careers. And we all know in reality that's not going to happen. So if you can share just some of those tidbits, that would be very helpful with you. One other thing I want to share is in our 38 pathways, the one that we don't really consider a pathway is our early college academy. Hardin County School has a Hardin and College Academy, and we have hundreds of students who have graduated with an associate's degree, and that brings me to our partnership with Megan Stith at Ectc. They work very closely with us to make that possible for our young ladies. So there are multiple careers that aren't represented up here because it requires the college pathway for those students to do that. And we really appreciate our partnership with Ectc. It has afforded a lot of opportunities for our students. So while these are the pathways we have, please know there are endless possibilities that we have. I do want to give a shout out for one of our middle schools today. So we have the girls coming here from 7th grade. One of our schools were like, what do we do with the 7th grade boys who are back here? Because if you think you're scared, the 7th grade boys back at the school going, why did all the girls get to go? They have actually created this same situation for the boys back in their home school. So they are also exploring careers. So again, we greatly appreciate you being here. We appreciate your time and effort and all the excitement that you will create for these young ladies today. So thank you.
Just real quick. Just so you all know, because it probably is going to be a long day. Does this work this close? We got to work on this. We'll figure it out. I'll use my teacher voice. In the back, in the middle, snacks, drinks. Please sustain yourself because it's going to feel long. And if you will have gaps in your schedule, there's a 5-minute gap for when they rotate, and that's totally okay if you get up because you need to use the restroom or the phone or the whatever. And then you may realize, like, hey, the session's starting and there's nobody here. So it may just be a natural gap in your schedule, okay? Things have been kind of fluid. I got it as close as I could, but my math's not perfect. So you may have some gaps. Please, use those as you want. I just wanted you to know if you have a time where a group doesn't show up to your table, it's not that anything's wrong, it's just that there's a gap. Try to build everybody in one. my head just started to scramble at some point. So, any other burning questions, desires about the way it's going to go down? And when the girls get here, we're going to sit them with the first group, and then why am I still yelling into it? And then I'm going to go over logistics for them so that you'll hear them too, so that we all kind of know what's going on and we're all on the same page.
All right, it's so good to see all your faces behind the masks and recognize all of you. Try to get real close and squint to make sure it's who I think it is. Thank you all for taking time today. I'll do a longer introduction when the ladies show up, just so they have a better understanding, as Brandy mentioned, of what's going to happen today. Thank you for your patience in advance with the chaos that is coming, and fortify yourself with snacks. and drinks. Thank you all for being here. Megan, want to introduce you really quick. By the way, I'm Holly Sexton, not a doctor, but I think Terry is like hooked me up with that through Hardin County Schools. So thank you very much.
Those are words of encouragement.
Words of encouragement, right? I'm Holly Sexton with the Bound Credit Union, and we are so glad to partner for Girls Incorporated today, and more to come. Megan Stiff coming up with Boss Lady Coaching and Ectc just to welcome you and say hello.
I do want to just take a moment to encourage all of you to just take a deep breath and look around this room. This is really special, and I'm going to try not to get emotional. I haven't been out in public in like 2 years. I haven't seen people. I haven't seen a lot of you. This is the first time a lot of us are getting to connect in a while. But I hope you know how grateful we are, and I hope you see today as a reflection of how an amazing community we live in. What women we have that support each other, that show up for each other, that when we pick up the phone and say, hey, we got this idea to talk to some girls, what do you think? The fact that you all got on board with this idea, it means so much to us. So I can't say thank you enough. You are going to change some lives for students today. It's going to be amazing to see how these conversations unfold. So thank you for being along with this ride today with us. We're here for you. Just holler if you have any questions, but we're excited to get started. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
In Hardin County Schools, we have 38 career pathways that you can explore when you get to high school. But you may not know what some of these things even are. Okay? So today, before you got here, you pick some careers you think you want when you grow up. And we tried to get you at least 2 of those on your schedule. And then we may have put in some other things that you don't even know about yet. Because today's a chance for you just to learn and explore and talk to someone. Okay? That way, about a year from now, when you start making your high school schedule, you can be like, you know what, I talked to that lady last year, she was amazing, she was a photographer, and I think I'm going to be in the media arts pathway. Maybe today you're going to talk to somebody and be like, you know, I talked to that nurse, and I really don't think this is what I want to do. That way, when you get to high school, does anybody know how much high school costs? It's free. So when you get to high school, you can try 1 or 2 of these career pathways for free. We'll pay for it. Instead of changing your major 12 times like I did, wasting tons of time and money. Okay, ladies? So that way you get to kind of explore. We said you don't know what you don't know. It means you may not even know what you like and what you don't yet. Explore it while you're on Hardin County Schools dime. That means while you're using our money in high school, okay, to figure out what you like. Easy enough? Easy enough. I'm going to go ahead and get this started since we're a little behind on schedule already. Everybody at your table has the same schedule. Okay? So when you move, you're all going to move together. We'll put the mat back up. I'll give you a 2-minute warning before you switch tables. We good? We're going to stop talking and let y'all go have some fun.
There's a lot of poverty in these communities. So the Peace Corps, you go and do that internationally. Well, AmeriCorps, you do the same thing, okay, but you just do it here in the United States. So I went to the Mississippi Delta in the state of Mississippi, and I taught GED prep and life skills in the Mississippi prison system. So I was, 22 years old, and I was teaching mostly male inmates in the prisons in Mississippi. And from there, I started to ask a lot of questions. Okay, I started asking, what are these men going to do when they get out of prison, right? I was in the 3rd poorest region in the United States. Most income there was less than $20,000 a year, and there were very few job opportunities. So I went back to school. Okay, the key to this is I did a lot of school. I went and got a master's degree in community development because I thought that's what I wanted to do, was help communities solve their problems by using research and teaching communities how to do research. How are you? I haven't seen you in forever.
Yes, I can't find any, I can't tell who any of these women are because I can only see this one.
And so I decided to go for community development because they were going to because I was going to learn how to do research. Okay. And so I got my degree in community development. While I was doing that, I worked for something called the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. Everyone know what Kellogg's is, right? Our cereals? Okay. Well, they also have a foundation that they funnel millions of dollars a year into to help communities. So if you've got poverty in your community and you want to create programs for youth to be able to get job training and that sort of thing, you can apply to places like the Kellogg Foundation to get money to then do those programs in your community. And I was in charge of evaluating and researching and seeing if the programs that they were giving money to were effective, okay? So I did that, and then I went on for a PhD, okay? Does anyone know what a PhD is?
I've heard it before.
You've heard it before? Okay. So a PhD is your doctorate, okay? It's the highest level of education that you can achieve. And I went and did my, what I decided I wanted to do after doing some community development work for a while, is that I wanted to be able to teach that at the college level, okay? I wanted to work for a university where I would be teaching students how to do research so then they could use those research skills out in their own communities. So I went to the University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri for 5 years to do my doctorate. And I did that in sociology, where my areas of expertise were in community, but specifically looking at race, gender, and class, and how those factors impact how a community survives or dies, okay? And then my secondary area of emphasis, believe it or not, is in sociology of agriculture. So I've spent a lot of time studying agricultural production, commodities, those sorts of things, which are all important to your area, which is probably why you ended up with me in some way. Because again, I was interested mostly in communities and how it is that we help communities solve problems. I finished my PhD and I came to WKU. And now I teach classes on the sociology of race and looking at how race relations impacts our communities. How is it that all of our diversity kind of comes together and how it can also hinder us from working together. And I teach classes on research, so teaching students how to make surveys and how to do interviews and how to collect their own data. I teach statistics, okay? And that's, compiling all those numbers and data to be able to say something about what's going on in the community. So that's kind of what I do. I teach and I do research, all right? And so what kind of questions do you have for me about what it's like to be a college professor?
I guess what I would say is doing things like today and asking people questions about how they chose the paths that they chose and really trying to figure out what you like. Like, are you someone who likes to do a lot of creative stuff, right? Do you like to do things where you do a lot of artwork and you think about colors and you think about things like that? Then you might want to go looking into things more on the art side or like marketing or graphic design. If you're someone who really likes to see things, like you mentioned, operate, to see things go from an idea to actually implemented, then you might want to do something in a company like I do, like program management or project management, or you might want to open up your own business. If you're someone who really likes to see how things work on the inside, like to tweak with things or play around with things, you like to see how things tick, you want to take something apart and put it back together, then you really want to be looking at engineering, because that is an awesome area to go into. And that's where you get to do that. You get to take things apart, build them back together, find ways to make it work better. That could be within technology. It could be a whole lot of things. It just depends on, what your likes and dislikes are, and you all are still learning that. So there's going to be some trial and error. There's going to be some things you guys think you want to do, and you may see, oh, that wasn't really what I wanted, and that's okay. And you have to understand it's okay for that to happen. That's not abnormal. Okay, great question. Thank you, Lizzie. Other questions?
How did you know what job you wanted?
I didn't know. So when I got out of high school, so I did JRTC in high school, so I knew I wanted to be in the military. And actually, my junior year of high school was when 9/11 happened. And I was in JRTC at that time. I was getting ready to become the battalion commander for JRTC. And I got asked, with all that going on, did I still want to be in the military? And my answer was a resounding yes. I wanted to be in the military. I wanted to be part of that. And so that's what led me to get an ROTC scholarship. And then when I got to college, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do my studies in yet. I just knew I wanted to be in the military. And so one of the things that what I gravitated to was criminal justice, because one of the things I wanted to do in the military was to be a police officer. So I was thinking, if I could be a police officer and be in the military at the same time, that would be really awesome. So I did criminal justice, but I did learn about 2 years into my criminal justice that really wasn't what I wanted to do. But I finished my criminal justice degree. I went into the Army, and I got to do the HR side of things for the Army, which is what helped me figure out, is that something I liked, which I loved, because that was about like people and helping them do things like we're doing right now, like figure out what they want to be when they grow up and help guide them in that way and coach and mentor, and that's all the stuff that I really enjoy. So that's how I ended up in that path. I had no idea what I wanted to be though, other than I knew I wanted to be in the Army. So sometimes knowing just one thing that you feel really passionate about, of course, will get you started. And then back to, you'll see as you go, there's certain things that you'll find you like, and there'll be certain things that you may say, I don't like, or you may say altogether, well, that just didn't work for me. That's okay. You'll learn from that, right? Like, you'll learn from that experience, and you'll know, okay, well, I didn't like that, so let me go try something else that I think I might like better. There's nothing wrong with that. That happens. And that's definitely natural. What else?
How many years of college did you do?
4. I went to school at Eastern Kentucky University for 4 years, which was a lot of fun. It was a great campus.
How does college help you get a job?
Well, it's interesting. So college doesn't necessarily help you get a job. So actually, when I got out of college, I was an Army Reserve officer, and I could not find a job. And so I ended up working at Target when I wasn't on my weekend for military. And I worked at Target as a team lead for a while until I figured out the next thing I wanted to do. So I tell you, just because you go to college doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a job right away. And that's an expectation you want to be real with yourself on. It just depends on the types of things that you do while you're in school, in college, that will help set you up for the right opportunity after. So internships, things like that.
Lou Springsteen, and I'm an attorney, and I'm also a city councilwoman for Elizabethtown. I started off, actually I did not go to law school until about 10 years after college. I worked for a while and sold software in the DC area, and actually had a really cool job for a while. I got to go to London and Australia to sell software for my company. And so I got tired of traveling, and which is hard to do because I really like to travel. But eventually I went to law school up in Boston. And the nice thing about law is that you can do a wide variety of things. So if you're interested in the outdoors, there's environmental law that you can do. And there's, well, that's the main thing, is environmental law really is a huge, hot area of law right now. You can do animal law, which is what I've focused on a lot. And that's as far as animal protection laws and ethics. One of the things that got me interested in that is volunteering at the animal shelter. And once we moved here and my kids got into school, I have a 13-year-old and a 15. How old are they? 12 and 14. They're about to have birthdays. Sorry, I'm getting so old I forget my kids' ages at this point. But so I started volunteering at the animal shelter here, and we had only lived in Kentucky a few years. And through that, I started taking the pictures for the adoptable pets. And because the pictures on Facebook, or they didn't even have a Facebook page at that point, actually. They just had pictures on Pet Finder, and it was usually a lady had taken the picture over the top of the cage with the flash. So the dogs all looked psycho, and like they were going to eat your arm. And so I thought we could do better. And so I got a friend, because it was just one lady by herself doing it. So I got a friend with me, and we would actually take the dogs outside and throw the ball with them and get them some exercise, and got better adoptable photos. And that helped a lot. for adoption rates. But the longer I volunteered there, the more I learned about some of the problems that animals have in Kentucky. In that there's very few animal protection laws, so breeders aren't very well regulated. There's not many laws against abuse of animals, and so after a few years, I decided that I would use my law degree to try to help animals more. So I stopped volunteering and ran for office and ran for city council. This week was actually a really big week in that E-Town passed an ordinance that I brought up that would, it stops stores from selling cats and dogs from breeders and encourages them to hold adoption events or have adoptable pets. And then also you can't sell dogs or cats out in parking lots anymore. But you can have adoption events, and you can stores can feature adoptable pets. And this is a big deal because we're the first city in Kentucky to pass this law, and it's made a big difference in a lot of other states. And so if we can get more municipalities to pass something like this, then it kind of shuts out the bad breeders. Good breeders, they don't sell their puppies to stores. They meet the people that want to buy the dogs, and they interview them, and they make sure they're going to good homes. Good breeders limit the number of litters they have every year, and they are careful as far as the genetics of the dog, as far as maintaining the purity of the breed. A lot of people who breed dogs in our area aren't as careful, and so the dogs end up in poor conditions, or just genetically poor, and they end up very sick. And that can cost people a lot of money if they're sold a sick puppy or a dog with a lot of genetic problems. It can be really expensive, and it can be really heartbreaking when you have a dog that passes away after a few years just because they weren't bred properly. So that's one of the things that I decided I want to use my law degree for, is to help animals more. And so that's what I've been doing for the last few years. I practiced law on my own for a while and helped nonprofits form and stay legal. And that was a good way to get to know people in the community as far as the nonprofits in the area that want to do things for other people. And so that's been actually really rewarding, and learning about, because you can't do everything. You know, there's all these things you want to do, and you can't do all of it. And so by helping other nonprofits form to help people in the community or to help animals in the community, then I'm able to indirectly have a part of that as well. And that's really rewarding, actually. And so that's kind of in a nutshell what I do. Does any of that spark any interest?
The whole goal of my job, whether it's helping people with their food or helping people with their money or helping people understand the people that they live or work with, it's helping them to have better lives. And so the fun part about my job is, even though I'm an educator, I'm not stuck in a classroom, right? And so I get to teach anywhere I want. I get to teach all grades, so I do from preschool to elderly people. I get to go into the school some days. I get to be here in our office other days. Sometimes I'm teaching outside, inside, you just never really know. And so I get that education piece because I'm a teacher, but not that I'm teaching the same grade, the same thing every day. And so that's what I really like about my job, is that there's all these different topics that I can teach, and I get to teach them to all these different people in all these different ways. And so it's a teacher job without the classroom setting. So, questions that you all have?
Do you teach people how to be like better parents?
Yes. So we do teach parenting classes here. And so there's a lot that goes in that. Sometimes parenting classes is helping your kid, or helping you understand, like, what can your kid at their age actually understand, right? Because sometimes we expect a lot from kids, and it's that their brains really aren't developed enough to be able to do what we're asking them to do. And so take sharing as an example. We think that a toddler, like, share your toys, right? And sometimes it's that their brains really honestly are not developed enough to be able to understand what sharing means. It's kind of like, have you ever seen a baby that, like, when you cover something up, they think it's gone, right? And so when you play peekaboo with the baby, they think it's complete magic that you are back. Because when you put that blanket over you, they thought you were gone, because their brains can't understand that there's something behind what they see. Well, once they get a little bit older, they understand that, and then they look for you and that kind of stuff. And so part of parenting is teaching people that, like, where is your child and what can they reasonably understand. Part of parenting is how can we feed your child in a healthy way, right? And what sort of discipline can we do that isn't in a healthy way. And so yeah, I get to teach. That's what I've got. Diapers here, I've got books here that we use with parents. We use this play food all the time for them to kind of build healthy meals that they maybe, and then we even tie in, you know, how can you afford that? If your budget is tight, how can you still feed your family in a healthy way, but on a budget? So yeah, and it's really fun to do that kind of stuff.
Did you go to college?
I did go to college. So I actually went to school to be a pediatrician. I thought that's what I wanted to do. And then partway through my freshman year of college, I realized that there were going to be kids that I wasn't going to be able to help, no matter how good of a doctor I was, and I didn't like that. I realized that I wasn't going to be good at that. And so then I switched my major, and I thought I wanted to be an adoption counselor. I always knew that I wanted to help people and that I liked kids. That was kind of the only real parameters that I had. And so I thought I wanted to be an adoption counselor and help people get matched up with babies and kids and all of that. So I looked into their requirements, and family consumer sciences was one of their approved degrees. So I started to get my family studies degree. And then while I was in that, so when you get to college, you'll have an advisor, which is a lot like your all's high school counselors. And my advisor actually signed me up to do an internship with Extension. It was not something I was familiar with, and I absolutely loved it, and that's what I've done ever since. So my advice to you is shadow people, do internships, volunteer places. Even if it's a place that you don't really think that might be what you want to do, you might get there and you might absolutely love it. Or you might get there and you might think, I cannot do this.
You don't have to conform to what society thinks you're going to be, what you should be. I just think that's a missed opportunity that, you know, in our community, or in, like, not even our community, but everywhere around us, we always think we have to fit in this box. We have to do, you know, I thought I had three options when I was growing up. I thought I had to be a teacher, I had to be a nurse, or I had to be a stay-at-home mom. I didn't know this existed. I didn't know pathways were an option. We didn't have pathways. So I wasn't exposed to all these other things. I liked architecture, but that was full of boys. So I thought it was a boy thing to do. I didn't know that I could go do that, you know? So I think having something like this is a really, really great opportunity for you. Because even if you don't want to do fashion, you're still at least like talking to an entrepreneur, where the best part of, you know, one of my favorite things about my business is the fact that I sign my own paycheck. And then I sign the paycheck for other people, you know, because I'm also, not only am I providing my own career and my own livelihood, I'm also providing a livelihood for other people. And that's pretty cool. That's not something that I ever thought I would be able to do. So it's pretty cool that it's come to fruition. So, do you have any questions? I don't know if I hit on my points, but yeah, okay, I think I got it all. Okay, yeah. Questions? I wasn't doing bridals that much. I'm a very I don't know. I like interior design. I like my husband and I renovate houses and things like that, but it's not something I maybe would want to do, but there are other influences. But it wasn't one of those things. I didn't have a list of things I wanted to do as a kid. You know, there was a moment where I thought I wanted to be a photographer, but, you know, I didn't know because I didn't know. I knew that I didn't want to be a teacher. I knew that I didn't want to be a nurse. So I kind of had to fill my own way in the world, and I had to find my own path. And that's kind of what I did with my degree too. Like, I wanted to do more making of the garments and things like that. So that's why I went and worked for the costume shop.
You can work as an RN, or once you get into the program, you complete that 2-year program, then you graduate as an RN. After you complete that program, then you can get your bachelor's degree at another school, at a 4-year school, and have a bachelor's degree in nursing. So we have so many wonderful opportunities, and there's so many different fields in nursing that you can go into. So what you might want to do in nursing is something totally different that you might want to do, and the opportunities are kind of endless. Do you all have any questions about nursing or anything about my current job?
Why did you want to be a nurse?
Why did I want to be a nurse? I genuinely thought that I knew that I wanted to choose a profession where I could help someone and where I felt like I could make a difference, as well as choose a career where I could financially support myself and take care of my family if I needed to in the future. So I feel like with nursing, I've been able to make a difference in patients' lives, in families' lives, and now I feel like I'm making a difference with the students that I'm teaching. So it's definitely a rewarding career, and some of the things that you guys might want to take advantage of in high school is any classes that you can take to get the prerequisites that are required for nursing. So like the CNA class. Do you all know what a CNA class is?
I heard my mom talk about it.
We learned about this in elementary school.
Yeah, so
I just can't.
You're fine. So it's a certified nurse aide course. So you have to take this nurse aide course, and then you get like a certificate at the end. You have to pass a test. And it's a program that the high schools are offering to you guys that you don't have to take once you get to college. So I had to take it in college and pay money for it. You guys can access that program in high school for free. So it's a wonderful, wonderful program. And then also if you have the opportunity to take like anatomy and physiology classes, those are really going to help you prepare for some future nursing classes and classes that you have to get into the program. So those are all wonderful programs that you can take advantage of in high school.
An author or a baker. I've seen more girls today that want to be bakers, and that is something that we need. I think we need more bakeries in this town, and that's an example of an entrepreneur, right? Someone that opens their own bakery would be an entrepreneur. You can have your own business. Good job. What about you? I'm sorry. A nail salon. That's right. We talked about that earlier. So again, all 3 of you are looking at going down the road of entrepreneurship, right? I think that's great because, you want to do something when you roll out of bed in the morning and you go to work, that it's something you enjoy. It's not work if you look forward to it every day. And if you own your own business, yes, you might have some sleepless nights, but it's still your business. You're going to enjoy it and just feel a sense of accomplishment.
Like, I wanted to be in law enforcement because my dad, he worked at LMPD for like 21 years, and then he just retired back in 2019. And my mom is in the police academy right now, and she's going to work with him. And so it just kind of like made me want to like learn more about it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. A lot of people are, whenever it comes to police enforcement, they're generational, which means that their parents or their grandparents also were in law enforcement to some degree. And I like that a lot of girls want to be police officers now. I think that's a great aspect for you, especially because since a lot of us are the moms, we already have the authority, Now, what else do you all think your day-to-day would look like in your futures?
I like traveling, so I don't want to stay in one place.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't want an everyday job. Exactly time.
Exactly, yeah. And traveling and things like that, like when you do like travel blogs, or if you're just if you're an interior designer, you actually travel a lot to go to textile mills and stuff like that. So that is neat. You would be able to get up and probably have a different experience every single day.
So my name is Maddie Cook. I work for Elizabethtown Community and Technical College, and I work in their marketing and public relations department. Does anybody know what marketing and public relations are?
I know what marketing like how you advertise your...
Yeah, okay, so a great way to explain marketing is like advertisements. So marketing is how do you get your message out about a product that you have, a service that you provide, or even an event that you're having. And so a lot of you all have come in contact with marketing materials your whole life and you may not realize it. So commercial advertisements, news broadcasts, billboards, TikToks, Instagram Reels, oh gosh, anything social media wise, any content that has the purpose of persuading you to buy something, attend somewhere, or join a cause or something like that, that is a product of marketing. So a little bit about me before we get into some marketing stuff. So like I said, my name is Maddie. This is what I look like without a mask. So just in case you were curious, or if you see me out on the street and you want to yell at me, this is what I look like without a mask. And so I created this because part of what I do in marketing is like graphic design and stuff like that. So I created this to kind of tell you all the story of me and how I've gotten to here, and kind of like the story of what I do in marketing. So I was raised in Owen County, Kentucky, which is not here, obviously, but the red dot here, that's where I'm from, and the blue dot is where you all are. So kind of close, but not really. After high school, I went straight into a 4-year college. So I went to the University of Louisville, and I got 2 bachelor's degrees, 1 in communication and 1 in sociology. Do you have any Louisville fans, Card fans? No, that's not a popular thing. Most people, anyways. So I went to U of L and I got 2 bachelor's degrees. I really loved my time there. I was doing a lot of volunteer work with the military community, and so then I got an internship on Fort Knox in their public affairs department. Do you all know what internships are? Who knows what an internship is?
I do, but don't know how to explain it.
Okay, so you do, but you don't know how to explain it. That's okay. So an internship is a really great opportunity where you can go and temporarily work somewhere to see if it's a good fit for you, or to see if you like it, or to try to get your foot in the door. And so I did an internship with Fort Knox, their public affairs office, and I got to learn about what people in public affairs do. Prior to that internship, I had no idea what people in public affairs do, and it turns out that I really loved it. So people in public affairs, they get to do photography, they do videography stuff, they do a lot of storytelling and writing, they do a lot of interviewing of people, and they're trying to tell the story of what's going on at that organization or wherever they're at. So I fell in love with that and decided that that would be a great fit for me, but I had a little bit of trouble finding a job. And so what I did right after that internship is, while I was looking for a job in public affairs, I worked as a substitute teacher for a little while with the Hardin County Public School System. So all of your middle schools I have been in, I've been a sub there. And then after that, I worked as an office manager for an attorney's office. So I worked for a lawyer for a while, about 1.5 years. And this whole time I'm trying to find something in that field, making sure that that's something that I want to do, and just trying to gain some professional skills in the office setting. And then the job opened up at Ectc with recruitment, and so I joined there, and then I started working in marketing in February of this year, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love my job. So something you should know about that journey of mine is that it's not always handed to you, and it's not always that you're going to find exactly what you want to do exactly when you want to do it. Sometimes you got to take a few detours, and sometimes you kind of have to work around some things. You may have to work a job in a different field to truly figure out what you want to do, and that is 100% okay.
So you guys have any questions so far about what a chemical engineer does? And that's kind of what I do. There's still a lot of people that have a lot of different perspectives in different jobs around chemical engineering. Another one is like biological or biomedical engineering And so that's another one. So biological and biomedical, they kind of go hand in hand. And so if you have heard of biology, if you think about the best explanation I can think of is, again, maybe a little bit in manufacturing, but think about, say, does anyone take any sort of allergy medication, or maybe you start sneezing a lot and maybe your parent might give you a little allergy pill? Yep, okay, you got one. So how do you think those allergy pills are made? Have any idea? No? So someone actually had to first design it, make sure that it has the correct ingredients, and so that's where kind of engineers might go hand in hand with some scientists. So that's kind of where the STEM comes on board. And so, yeah, you might work a little bit with scientists, but then you want to be able to make, say, the public needs like 1 million pills a day to distribute all across America, all across the world. And so you have to build a process that will actually let you mass produce that amount of little itty bitty allergy pills. And so you want to make something that's very large scale, that has all the ingredients that you need, and kind of puts them together in a safe way. You don't want to add any additional ingredients or anything that can make people sick. So again, we want to keep the public safe, keep our customers safe, and we want to be able to make it quickly and effectively. So that's kind of another process that you can go into. And there's just a lot of different things. And so a lot of people with engineering backgrounds, I mentioned a lot with manufacturing. There's also a lot of different backgrounds that you can go into.
Now that I'm closer to retirement, I think I wouldn't mind going back to culinary, or possibly, going to culinary school. But yeah, just something to think about. I mean, something different. But if you got any questions, let me know. In the category that I'm in now, like senior line technician, base pay would roughly $80,000-$90,000. But it's taken a while to get there. I've been there 28 and a half years. Anywhere from $80,000 to $90,000. But starting out like an apprentice lineman, will start out at approximately around $25 to $26 an hour. And that you can get a lot of overtime, make even more than that. Something else that we've recently done at my employer are the hours that we work. Used to we'd work 8 hours, 5 days a week. And then of course if there was any storms we'd have to work overtime. But now we work 9-hour days. We work, plus we'll be off every other Friday. So we work 9-hour days, Monday through Thursday. And then Friday that we work 8 hours, and we get an hour for lunch. So like today's my Friday to work. Next Friday I'll be off. So a lot of the employees really like that. It's called a 980 schedule. And that could be like employers, I don't know how many here do that, but it's something that's becoming more popular. I mean, that might be something you might be interested in too, like if you find a company that provides that 2 Fridays off a month, that's like vacation time to me. Or I get to save my vacation time because I've got those 2 Fridays off.
So you guys are going to get something totally different than what you guys have talked about already. Okay, so my name's Megan, and I work for a company that's called American Fidelity. You guys have probably never heard of that company before, and that's okay. We are probably one of the largest family-owned insurance companies in the United States.
So probably in the top 5. So by family owned, we're really, really big, but we still have one person who actually owns our company. So the guy who started our company, it was over 60 years ago. He started the company, he passed it down to his son, and then he passed it down to his son. So we're currently on the grandson of the original person who started the company. And currently he has 2 out of his 3 daughters that are working in the company and learning the business now so that they will end up taking the business over someday. So really proud of that fact. Our company has actually been voted by Fortune magazine as being one of the top 50 companies to work for in the United States, which is a really neat accomplishment. Fortune magazine is a very well-known business organization and business magazine that's published each month. So we take a lot of pride in that. We really want to be a great place to work and a great organization to work for. So, do you guys know what insurance is?
Yeah.
Do you?
I have at my school there's a whole class. It's not it's about like financial stuff.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And all that.
Okay. Very good. So basically, just kind of in a nutshell, what insurance is it is the ability where you actually pay money for some sort of policy that protects you and your loved ones. Where if you have some sort of a situation that comes up, oftentimes it's something medically or with something you own that you're trying to protect to make sure that if something happens, from a financial standpoint, your policy that you've been paying for helps you.
The HR department typically is responsible to pay them for things. And then we also handle all of the insurance and benefits. So does anybody here thinking about retirement? Probably not, no, because you're 12. You don't even know what you want to do. So you're not thinking about retirement. But a lot of times when you go to a job, one of the first things you'll want to be thinking about is saving money for later on in life when you want to retire. And so that's something that in human resources we talk about with our employees and deal with our employees is giving them the opportunity to save money for when they want to retire later. So does anybody here have a job? Maybe babysit, walk a dog, mow the yard?
Well,
No?
I mean, there's stuff that I do, but I don't get paid for it.
Okay. You do your chores? Yeah. Yeah. What do you do?
I have something that should be considered a job. So my grandparents, they babysit my sister, but a lot of the times they're busy, so it's basically me babysitting her. And I was like, God, she's such a handful.
Yeah.
I should be paid for this.
So sometimes for a birthday or for Christmas, does somebody maybe give you money instead of giving you a gift? Yeah. So do you save your money or do you spend your money?
Save it.
I save it.
You save it?
Sometimes I used to spend it all the time, but now I save it because I can't stand spending it because I want to save up a whole bunch of money so I can use it for something big. So.
Yeah. So it's okay to spend your money on things that you want to sometimes, but you should also consider saving some of your money, like you said, to make big purchases down the road sometimes. So one day you may want to buy a car, right? So you should start saving your money now if you want to buy a car later on, maybe.
So I would say it probably depends on the therapist and what they're talking about in session. If it's something really important, something like suicide or maybe they're being abused or hurt, that's something that's important that we would have to report. So we'd have to keep people safe. So it kind of depends.
Do y'all get a lot of things like that?
Like what?
I don't think she can tell you that.
What do you mean about people coming in and just having struggles with their parents and talking about suicide? Yeah, we get a lot of that.
Do you get a lot of self-harm?
Some, yeah.
Okay, I have a question. For you to get, because I know a lot of people, they're like, a lot of therapists, they're like, I've been through this and so on with other people. Like, have you ever been through something that you work with the people with? That makes sense?
Have I ever been through something that
so your category is like human. Wait, what's your category?
I'm a psychologist.
Okay.
So we're in human service field. Maybe that's what you're trying to say.
So the human service field is like sexual harassment, being abused, and stuff like that. So have you ever went through that? Is that why you like want to be in that field?
Oh, so the reason why, I've got this question a few times, why did I want to become a therapist? So when I was 6 years old, I had a family member, it was an uncle, who was struggling with depression. And it was to the point where he had to come live with us for a while. And while he was living with us, he was going to therapy. And going through therapy, he got better. And so when he moved out, when he was doing better and he moved out, I told my parents when I was 6 that I wanted to be the person that helped my uncle. And so at 6 years old, I knew I wanted to be a therapist, which is honestly really strange because most people don't know what they want to be at 6 or 16 or sometimes even 60. But I knew what I wanted to be at that age.
What did you want to be first? Like, which one?
That's a good question. I've been a mortgage loan officer for 19 years, and I've only been on city council for a year. So home loans is my passion. I do home loans. It's when you want to buy a house, I'm the one that does the loan.
My older sister, she's going to school for real estate.
Oh, okay. See, similar. I work with realtors, and I help people with their credit. How many of you has your parents or anybody ever talked to you about credit or paying your bills on time?
Oh, I have that.
Okay.
They tell me that.
Have you been through the financial class in school?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, okay. Financial literacy? No, okay.
I've
So
heard yes.
like the legacy
we have it's our enhancement class, Ms. Mauser. Angela's financial literacy.
Nice.
It's like
nice.
math.
I love it. I love it. So you learned how to write a check, how to deposit, open a checking and savings
I know
account.
how to
So
deposit a check.
that is music to my ears because no one talked to me about credit or finances when I was growing up. No one told me to pay my bills on time. So I always like to make sure I let the young ladies
My parents
know.
tell me that it's right if you pay your bills on time, not
Yes.
late. Because then it's going to be on your record.
On your credit.
So as a copywriter, you could really write anything that you want. It could be social media posts, it could be blogs. You can write ads for different companies. And then, do you guys know what a landing page is? Okay. It's like a one-page website almost, but that's only about one product. It's not really about how awesome the company is or anything. It's just one product that you want to get someone to buy. But you still want the ideal audience to buy it. So you can do something like that too. And that's actually, depending on the circumstance, that can actually be worth more than a website. And the coolest part about landing pages is that you can price it on the front end. So you can say, okay, in order for me to write this, it'll be like $2,000. But on the back end, once you make your sales, I want like 1% or 5% of your sales because, you wouldn't have made it without me. And it's it's a very direct version of copywriting. So that's really awesome. So do you guys have any questions about that? No? Okay. Well, I will say with all of the things that you guys mentioned you want to do, copywriting is super versatile. And when you kind of understand, like you get into a rhythm and you figure out how long it's going to take you, this is something you could honestly start now. Like you don't have to wait until you're 18. There's no age restriction. Really, you just need to have a basic understanding of the topics that you want to talk about. For example, I didn't know anything about health and wellness, not seriously, when I got into it. I just knew that it was, the niche that I was going for was holistic health and wellness. So I just knew that it was kind of all natural ideas around health.
So Girls Inc. is an event that was held with Hardin County Schools, 7th grade girls, about 500 girls in the county. We did the event in partnership with a Bound Credit Union and Ectc. The idea is to get girls out of the classroom, and a chance to sit down and talk with women in our community. We had about 40 local community members to really talk about what is your job like, and do you have more than one job, and what's the work-life balance, and what's the reality of being a lawyer or the reality of being a nurse. It gives girls a little bit more information so they can make an informed decision as they start to choose which career pathways they're going to go into in high school, because they make those decisions and start to have those conversations in middle school.